Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to my thesis review. I will summarize my 3 years of study here by introducing you to my thesis, Situational, 情境中. This talk will be roughly 15 minutes. We'll move to the gallery afterwards to see the physical work. I see everything as a unique situation, which is the combination of circumstances, conditions, or events happening at a particular time and place. This word situation is inherently spatial because it originates from the word sight. The Chinese for situation is called 情境. 情 is emotion, 境 is scene. The circumstances become an emotional scene, which brings an affective layer into the spatial term. The structure of my thesis book describes a progression, both narratively in the theme, spatially on the book pages, as you'll notice the dropping hangline in the titles as the chapters progress, and temporally in the timeline of my work. Another design feature is that the title are always surrounded with the context it's living in, including format, dimension, category, course, chapter, and page number. The first chapter is site. It's a spatial location of a structure, the place, scene, or point of occurrence. It starts with my methodology called in situ, which calls for engagement with site-specific context and analyze their change over time. When I say site-specific, it's not just related to a location. There are at least 3 levels of site at play. Place as the geographic site is the most macro and obvious. In the middle, organization serves as the structural site. On the individual level, body is a site where culture and social experiences are embodied and reproduced. It's internal and subjective. It's difficult to take all 3 into consideration comprehensively. Depending on your perspective, there's always blind spots. Our subjectivity creates partial view, and multiple partial views help for a fuller picture. Take this program as an example. Geographically, we're at Weibosset right now. Organizationally, we're gathered here all because of RISD's GDMFA. Individually, we're different bodies with distinct experience, which is how I designed this project 502 Graph Design Homespace, a conceptual website for our program. It starts by analyzing the site of our studio. This is a floor plan from 2005. It clearly marks out the scale and function of the space. If we look closely, the little squares represent the column in the building, which evenly divide the site into a 10-column grid. On the individual level, all of us encounter and engage with the same space and faculty with distinct approach. Here's a selection of alumni work in the past 20 years. The student and faculty body are constantly changing, but the studio space remains the same memory we all share. This conceptual website uses floor plan as navigation method, and information is organized according to the function of the studio. It maintains the same column grid. When you click into the room of grad program director, you access the leadership bio and thesis book archive, just like you're walking into Bethany's office. When you click into the flat file, that is where archival material is organized, linking the experience of a website with a physical site. And each student table carries a personal touch. It shows you something they kept on their table. Every year the table bears a different name. That's the temporal quality of this site. This allows a stranger with no previous context to instinctively understand the place, organization, and individual body all at once, which is what I call an in situ experience. The second chapter is situate. It means to contextualize, to place in a site, situation, context, or category. This diagram, the wandering soul trying to situate herself, captures the spirit of the project inside. It's a continuous search for belonging and a reflection of my positionality. Full Moon is for reunion. It's a circular book that takes the shape of the moon. The Chinese culture associates full moon with family reunion, and I grew up with the lunar calendar for all of my birthday celebrations. The book embodies the time unit of a full month, as every page is a different moon phase. The white ink on the black paper is like the faint glow in the night sky. The mixed feelings that rises when I see the full moon in the States is a distinct reminder of my displacement. On the plexiglass cover, there's a list of dates of every full moon that I spent abroad, away from family. In Seriously, Not So Serious, I wrote about my positionality as a designer who rejects the conventional standard of serious method and subject and embrace the pleasure and intuition making. But most notably, it was my first attempt at building a bilingual design system. By doing so, I hope to encourage designers with multicultural background to bring functional multilingual work into the increasingly globalized and homogenized visual scene. When any subcultural form can be absorbed into the mainstream, language still remains distinct as a cultural marker. The decision for this bilingual thesis is for the same reason. It reflects my in-betweenness. If we take a step back, the graphic design industry and student body are increasingly populated by internationals who come from the global south. Inevitably, we will reproduce some model of Eurocentric education and aesthetics, but how can we push beyond that established tradition? If the previous chapters established the analysis of site, the search for placement, then the third chapter, Situational, is about the approach to respond fluidly. In my interview with Susan Jehoda, the co-author of Making and Being, an open source workbook for art educators, she talks about her pedagogy as a program director in UMass Amherst and how she advocates for a holistic relationship between making and being in art practice. I love this part from her book, where she talks about the most common ways we start a project. The major types are form. We start by learning about your tools and materials and seeing what it can do. Or theme, start by learning about topic we want to explore, or context, which is how I like to work. Start by getting to know a site that you want to work with, or the last one, life cycle. Start by learning about the life of art projects. The life cycle framework is the tool Susan and Carolyn Woolard provide in this book. It maps out 10 phases in art production and provide a comprehensive analysis of the factors that affect our practice, such as capacity, support, copyright, depart. She talks about the importance of holistic art education that asks how the maker is coming into being alongside the work. It's more about the person getting to know themselves, Susan said, and the ability to situate oneself within larger social conditions like labor or economic implications. This reflects in her collaborative research artist report back, which visualized data about American artists' demographic, occupation, education, and earnings recorded by the Census Bureau to make statement about the current condition of working artists and graduates. This diagram shows that 10% of art graduates are working artists, and 16% of working artists went to art schools. A situational response takes not only the production of a project into consideration, but also the production of the designers themselves. It starts with an analytical reading of the production constraints, such as time, budget, knowledge, and tools. We're also responding to site-specific context. What does the place, organization, and body call for? Everyone would reach a different answer that is appropriate to themselves. In the Bible Leaf sperm whale, my research of the whaling industry led me to represent the whale body in a rail scale installation because when they were hunted for their oil, sailors cut the whales into a size called Bible leaves, so their fat can be rendered out on board inside copper quadrants. I reversed that cutting process by putting a whale back together from individual Bible leaves. The same number of pages are also assembled into a Bible-sized book. The book object itself, with its size and volume, resembles a chunk of whale fat. The white page of the book is an image archive of historical documentation of whaling logs, ships, tools, and commercial products that they were sold as. The black side of the book is fragments of the whale installation. In illegible pattern, my observation of the urban landscape, the input from my textile collaborator, and the constraints of my coding skill led to this website that generates modular pattern with a variable font. This tool takes a phrase of type as image to the extreme, allowing us to look at typesetting purely from a form-based perspective. I really like something my collaborator Ike said. Ike is a weaver from textile. He said that weaving is essentially just working with a grid, manipulating the vertical and horizontal space, which is how I see form in its fundamental level. its spacing, color, scale, shape, rhythm. Sometimes typography is meant to be read, other times they are meant to be experienced as a composition, which led me to work on a series of workshops about the fundamentals of form study. The first issue on observation uses life drawing as a method to force an acute sense of visual perception. I mapped out 2 other future issues so they can come out as a series of 3. When we look at a human eye, for example, we associate that with the sound I, if you're an English speaker, of course. When we draw an eye on paper, we tend to draw an abstracted symbol of the eye that is symmetrical. By making a contour drawing from life, it forces you to observe reality with all its granularity, all the creases. We're sensing the unmediated reality purely in its form. Instead of processing its meaning, it is a deliberate intervention of how we experience the environment. It is this type of project that is grouped in the last chapter, Situationist. The Situationist International was a group of avant-garde artists and political theorists who formed its unique tactic to intervene with life under capitalism. The core idea is the construction of situations, which momentarily intervene with our material environment and the behavior that give rise to. Sometimes it's achieved through signages, a visual language that commands people to behave a certain way. In Joe's sign service, I made a series of personal signs in the style of public sign to visualize our behavioral pattern. Make time for your peace is for Lay, my burned out husband. Make something first, worry about later is for Tonia, a chronic procrastinator. Touch grass is for Faith, who is always longing for nature while working in office. Come on in, I'm here to help. Encourage us to walk into Amy's office, who's always looking out for us. And Babe, it's good enough is for myself, a recovering perfectionist who's learning to love and celebrate my work instead of fixating on how it's not the ideal version. By now, you must have noticed I prefer to work with my immediate surroundings to imbue new meaning and transform the way we usually experience them. Sometimes this momentary intervention can be achieved through posters. In my class, political posters, students brought their work into the streets of Providence to engage directly with the environment. How much have you lost? Talk about gambling addiction that Leo personally went through as a young man. Henry's poster worked with the popular symbol in Ukraine social media, so it is easily shareable with his friends over there. Chehag made bold visualization with data of gender composition in the US Congress, the issue of military expense, and housing shortage. She posted them in the best possible places. The stark contrast boldened the statement even further. Lastly, Eden's All-American Coloring Book chose satire as her language and coloring book as a way to invite participation. The poster on the right is posted on the bus stop. These students do not study graphic design, yet somehow it allows them to engage more directly with their message and audience. At the back of my book, there is an archive section that chronicles my work from 2018 to now. It provides further context and an overview of a bigger progression. It includes my illustration, podcast with my collaborator who's visiting today, application for RISD, thank you Bethany, graphic design work and teaching material. Some will serve as resources for the readers. More importantly, it is an index for myself so I don't lose track of all the categories that I will keep developing in the future. At the end, I want to give a shout out to my cohort. Thank you for being the best teachers for the past 3 years. I have learned so much being in a community with all of you. I will continue to unpack your influence and wisdom after we depart. Thank you.